Good luck tonight, my favorite gods of great randomness. Vitus Britva here, and just like I promised earlier, today we've got a very special super guest for you.
A rep from the real provider, TrueLab. This is Daniel Andrianov, everyone. Please do meet him now.
Hey everyone. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Victor. Hope so. I want to take this opportunity to build trust with everyone here and tell the full, unvarnished truth today about this industry. At the very least, I want to bust some persistent myths and cover the sharpest, most pressing questions honestly and openly, so there's no confusion left at the end of this discussion.
By the way, out of curiosity, which slot game do you think is more popular? Battle Rage or Einstein's Reef Reactor? From what I see, Battle Rage usually ranks third, Dr. Rock is top, and second place goes to something like...
Not surprising or surprising, Hotmania ranks as our third most popular game. It's a true classic, perfect for fans who enjoy lots of pay lines and straightforward mechanics. Usually during streams it feels a bit slow and lacks bonus rounds, so it doesn't really grab huge attention or popularity. It's got medium volatility and is a calm, pleasant game. Great just to relax and watch the reels spin. Plus it pays out pretty well given its simple style. Now, a common question comes up. Does a slot's payout depend on the casino's bankroll or budget, or is it all down to the random number generator? We like to call that the god of RTP. Funny thing is, you often call on your gods during streams, and guess what? We have our own gods here too. Slots rely entirely on chance dictated by the RNG, nothing more or less. It's like an invisible force controlling fairness and unpredictability, our little deity behind every spin. RTP, or the so-called gods of randomness, don't really remember anything about your previous bets. They generate each outcome completely fresh every time you play. It's pretty much like flipping a coin. Each flip is independent, and nobody knows what happened before. So essentially, every time you spin a slot, it's a brand new event with no connection to what came before, just like tossing a coin again and again. Whether you get heads or tails next time doesn't depend on the result of the last flip at all. Slots work exactly like that, you see. Each spin happens independently and knows absolutely nothing about the previous one, so the outcome is always fresh and random. Just so you know, I can already predict the next questions you'll ask. These tend to be the most common and popular ones people usually have about slots. If you've already put money into a slot and someone hits a big win right after, it doesn't affect your game at all. Each spin is completely random, following the machine's math code which calculates the odds for every combination. There's no shared jackpot pool or influence between spins. It's pure chance. Most certified games follow these strict rules to keep spins independent, though some providers might have different systems. Generally, certified slots guarantee every spin is fair and random. Everyone can have their own specific approach, of course, but there are definitely certain important rules that everyone has to follow. Both regulators and independent certification labs set very strict and clear rules for casino games. It's mandatory that every slot spin is entirely random and independent, with absolutely no influence or memory of previous spins at all. If these rules aren't strictly followed, the game simply won't receive certification, and as a result, no legitimate licensed casino will accept it. Now, some game providers choose to skip licensing or certification altogether, which usually means you should be cautious because their games can't be fully trusted when it comes to fair play and randomness. We won't name names, but it's smarter to pick a trusted provider who certifies their games in respected places like the UK or Malta. These certifications mean the games pass thorough lab tests for fairness and security. So choosing providers certified there ensures the games are legitimate and properly regulated.
By the way, when I started playing, there were those fruit slots too. Not exactly the same, but you know what I mean.
I mean 3x3, right?
Yeah, and there was video poker too. And then this one...
Back then I was with the fruits, hitting 20 ruble watermelons and loving it. Paychecks were just 500 rubles, but good days. Just walked up to the slot and spun, something like that, yeah. Next question, how much does it cost to develop one slot?
It depends on complexity. For classic slots like these, we have a tier system in the studio to classify them. AAA, AA and single A games. AAA games require substantial investments and resources. Usually it costs well over 100,000 euros to develop a single game. And they each have their own unique mechanics, including some original and creative bonus games. In our case, Dr. Rock is categorized as a cheap A2A game, while Battle Rage features a cheap away level mechanic and Cluster also offers something distinct. The pack game just came out recently. It's a AAA title, usually taking about 9 to 12 months to develop with all the design, coding, and testing involved. AA games are when we take a familiar mechanic that's popular and proven among many other providers. We observe that it works well and players generally enjoy it. So what we do is break it down thoroughly, analyze its components, and adapt it thoughtfully to fit our unique setting and style. These games tend to be a bit cheaper to develop compared to more innovative titles. This is because we don't experiment or create new mechanics from scratch. We basically take these successful time-tested mechanics and add our own creative twist or enhancements to make them feel fresh and engaging, but without the risks related to completely new designs.
They cost around 50 to 100,000 euros to produce.
There are also very simple single-A games, which are basically just reskins. We often create these so-called filler games by taking existing titles and simply changing their settings or themes, but the underlying math and mechanics remain exactly the same. For example, classic series like Hot Money fall into this category as well. These games are quite inexpensive to produce, usually costing somewhere around 30 to 50,000 euros in development expenses, making them a cost-effective way to keep players engaged while building on familiar gameplay formulas they already enjoy.
Can casinos change the RTP in your provider's games, or is the RTP fixed once it's set by the game developer?
Casinos have the flexibility to change RTP themselves. When we develop games, we actually create several different versions with varying RTP levels to comply with regulations. For instance, German casinos face very high taxes, so they aren't able to offer games with high RTP values because it wouldn't be profitable for them. So they opt for versions with lower RTP to balance between player returns and their economic requirements. This way, casinos can choose an RTP level acceptable to regulators and sustainable for their business, ensuring games remain playable and compliant. RTP in these games is set at 96% or higher. The reason is quite straightforward. If the RTP were too high, the casino would essentially just be paying taxes to the government without making any profit themselves. Because of this, casinos usually offer versions with a lowered RTP. What's important to know is that casinos can actually switch the game to a lower RTP version if they choose to. This information is always clearly displayed and can be found in the game's menu and rules. Each game provider is required by regulators to include this RTP information within the game interface, so players can always check it. So it gives the casino flexibility while keeping transparency for players. Game providers are legally required to clearly show the real RTP of their games due to strict regulations that ensure full transparency for players at all times.
So, while you're here, I should mention that the maximum win you can get per single round is capped at 50,000 bets. Now, is it possible for casinos to actually reduce or cut down this max win limit on their own?
No, casinos can't. Casinos don't get direct access to the real game. They just connect through an API, offering it on their platform without handling the actual game mechanics. The game runs on our secure game provider server, tightly sealed by the licensing authority. Once released, a legal seal stops us from making any changes, ensuring the game's integrity is locked and publicly verified. If a player ever suspects cheating or something's off, they can contact the certification authority that issued the license and request an official verification. The hash we mentioned is always available as proof. The licensing body can confirm that at the exact moment the game showed a bet or result, no tampering occurred. The game behaved exactly as intended. This ensures complete transparency and fairness, guaranteeing neither the casino nor we can manipulate the game after release in any way. Nor can we make any critical changes after the game is released. We absolutely can't adjust the maximum wins or the RTP, and this information is completely sealed and publicly locked down. It's simply impossible to alter any of those parameters once the game is live. Our mission is about much more than just entertainment. It's deeply rooted in emotions, the genuine feelings that players experience when engaging with our games. We aim to evoke a wide range of emotions as often as possible because we understand this industry brings both the highs and lows of feelings. Big wins create moments of pure joy and happiness, while losses inevitably lead to disappointment and frustration. It's at this delicate balance between these emotions that we reflected on how to craft experiences that truly respect and amplify these feelings in an honest and thoughtful way. We've clearly defined our mission as primarily giving people the chance to truly feel a wide range of emotions and, most importantly, providing them with a unique way to escape their daily routines and find genuine entertainment that captivates and engages them deeply while playing our games. Setting this mission, when developing slots, we start by choosing the emotion we want to create. then build the entire concept around that core feeling to make the experience engaging.
We first decide what kind of emotion we want to evoke or which direction we want to take, and then we carefully build the story around that. So what story exactly do we want to tell the player?
So the key is to make sure the player feels a genuine emotion. For instance, take a slot like Dr. Rock. It's not just about, digging or simple gameplay. It's about this complex, eccentric professor character. He had a really tough childhood, and beyond that initial quirky image, there's a deep and rich lore or narrative behind him. We don't just reveal these details all at once. Instead, we slowly uncover his backstory and personality through our marketing channels, like Telegram and Twitter. This approach lets the players connect more deeply with the game and enjoy a more immersive experience.
Going back to this professor, his father always pushed him to study physics, though deep down he truly wanted to play the guitar. In fact, all his experiments centered around the guitars. It was his passion and inspiration. He built a unique physical reactor designed to generate large sums of money, aiming to grant any player's wishes or fantasies through it. This blending of science and music was what drove him forward every day.
Got it. That's honestly pretty surprising. But this kind of depth, I wouldn't have expected it to be that deep.
Besides making slots, we're building this entire world that connects everything. We actually have a dedicated site called crew.world where we want to bring all these slot stories together and, over time, create a unique universe, much like Marvel did. You know how Marvel has separate stories about Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Black Panther, right? Our plan is to develop individual stories for each slot character and eventually tie them all together across different games and platforms, creating this big interconnected world. It's really exciting to see how all these stories can overlap and expand into something really immersive and engaging for the players.
It's like the Avengers, bringing all characters into one big story where they interact naturally. We're doing something similar, a meta loyalty system that lets you do more than spin slots. You can find Easter eggs, join social tournaments, and win cool prizes like an iPhone or exclusive merch. It's about creating an engaging experience that brings the community together and keeps players excited for what's next.
This trend where game providers are headed is absolutely spot on. We fully support it, and in fact, we want to add an extra exciting layer on top of that.
An extra exciting layer over each character, like creating an immersive kind of metaverse experience where players will be genuinely interested and excited in following every new game and character we add to that universe, exploring the deeper lore and connections we build into the experience.
Who do you currently
consider your strongest competitor among providers? I'd say No Limit City. I mentioned them for a reason. When it comes to slot development, they are definitely ahead of us. Not by a huge margin, but they have a clear lead. Their edge comes from their extensive resources, significant investment capacity, and strong financial backing. These factors give them an advantage that we have to acknowledge and keep striving against.
That's exactly who we're aiming to compete with, the very people behind No Limit City. We consider them our direct rivals, and it drives us to push even harder. I truly hope that very soon, not only will we catch up to their level, but we will also surpass them by introducing some truly unique ideas. One concept we're particularly excited about is building this meta layer of player loyalty that we believe will set us apart in the industry.
all their slots have some weird angle like a psych ward or prison? It's all just odd.
I don't like that either. I generally don't support the ideas they push through their slots, but they chose that theme because aggression is kind of trendy right now. This aggressive style is tied closely to what the audience expects or asks from them. It's not really close to me personally, maybe because of my own values. I believe more in a world where creativity and kindness could lead the way, rather than just pushing aggressive themes for quick attention. It's not close to me personally. I think it's mostly because of my own personal values and principles. I truly believe more in a world that's filled with kindness and genuine connection. Like I said before, what really draws me to your streams is how genuinely yourself you are, always diving into deep, thoughtful topics and sticking to principles that encourage real reflection instead of just surface chatter or fleeting trends. I believe love or kindness can truly save the world. Imagine a game like No Limit City, but with honest, inspiring messages, not just distractions. That kind of game would feel sincere and meaningful, something that uplifts players rather than just thrilling them. It would be refreshing to see entertainment that genuinely encourages and offers something real to hold on to. rather than what No Limit City does, promoting aggression and all that. Probably the main difference we want to emphasize.
What exactly must a casino do if they want to connect with your provider?
First, the financial terms or the conditions they need to follow, I guess, is a two-sided question. Basically, the simplest path is to connect with one of the well-known aggregators like SoftSwiss, which acts as a bridge for many platforms. You integrate that aggregator into your platform, request and review the terms set by SoftSwiss, then proceed accordingly. These terms are usually set by SoftSwiss as an intermediary, but if a casino is big enough with many players, it can connect with us directly and negotiate terms, including pricing and revenue shares.
If you don't want to get into the numbers and you just want a simple answer, does the casino pay you on every single spin, or is it structured differently?
That's the rake share model, basically. It revolves around something called gross gaming revenue, or GGR for short. It's basically the total amount of bets placed minus the total amount of winnings paid out to players. That's what we call gross gaming revenue, or GGR for short. From this GGR, we receive royalties from the casino side. Typically, these royalties range somewhere between 5 to 15% of all player losses. This percentage varies based on contracts and market conditions, but generally it's a portion of the casino's net losses from the players. So in simple terms, our income comes as a share of what players lose overall at the casino.
Are there different casino playing strategies?
I wouldn't recommend anyone believe that using the martingale system, where you constantly double your bet after each loss, will guarantee beating the casino every single time. That idea is just not true at all. In fact, relying on such a strategy can be very risky, and it definitely doesn't assure you'll come out ahead no matter what. Over the long run, math always wins out in the end. When it comes to betting strategies, most of the time they're just designed to keep you calm and feeling confident, but they won't actually increase your chances of winning in any meaningful way.
But sometimes it really feels like a slot's hot, doesn't it? Like you walk up and think, oh, this slot's definitely paying out today, while another one just isn't hitting at all. So does it actually matter if you chase after a hot slot, or is it all just luck and randomness?
Sometimes intuition kicks in while playing. You might notice signs or hints, whether it pays out or not. You know, it's about this feeling that maybe something's just clicking, a kind of sixth sense where you tune into the universe and think, hey, luck might actually be on your side at this very moment. And sometimes, oddly enough, it really does seem to work that way. This whole thing isn't about math or probabilities, it's less science and more cosmic intuition. Like you can sense when you're about to get lucky, almost like the universe is giving you a little nod. And on the flip side, you also get that vibe when a slot isn't going to give you anything back, like it's just not your time. So on this metaphysical, almost spiritual level, I guess you're tapping into something beyond logic. It kind of works, yes, but not in any real mathematical way.
Does it really matter if a slot's super popular and lots of players are on it? Does that change your chances or payouts at all? So does that mean it has higher payout, or does it not affect at all?
No, it truly doesn't affect anything at all, just like I mentioned earlier. The slot's code is completely unaware of how many players are winning at any given moment, or who got lucky and who didn't. From the code's perspective, it simply doesn't have that information at all. These ideas that player numbers impact the game's outcome are just myths and misconceptions that float around in the industry, but they aren't based on how the technology actually works.
It's like flipping a coin every time you hit spin. The slot machine doesn't remember past results or favor anyone. It's completely random, just pure chance each time you play.
How many people worldwide are flipping coins at the same time? Well, of course, I don't know that.
If you play the same slot from the same provider at different casinos, will the gameplay differ?
There won't be any difference in gameplay, because each spin on a slot machine is completely independent from the last one. It isn't connected to previous spins, nor is it affected by spins from other casinos or operators. Each spin is a fresh, new, individual event with its own random outcome. So, would a spin differ if you played a session of spins at one casino compared to another casino? No, it wouldn't differ at all.
Yeah, that happens because some casinos set higher max bets on slots, while others limit them lower based on their rules. Is there usually a maximum bet limit that any casino is allowed to set for your slot machine, or does it vary from place to place depending on their rules?
There's a concept called max exposure that every casino uses to set limits on their slots. Max exposure is the highest win limit set by the casino for a slot game. It means the casino decides the biggest amount a player can win, like 5 million or 10 million rubles. This limit helps the casino control risk and prevent winnings above that set maximum. It sets the max exposure, which is the max payout limit. All bets in the slot must strictly fit within this maximum win limit that the casino carefully sets. This means that every single bet placed is tied directly to this limit to ensure the casino's risk is controlled properly. So, if Dr. Rock's max win is set at 50,000 and the limit is 1,000,000 rubles, the bets must be really small. Since the bet times 50,000 can't exceed that limit, bet sizes are tightly controlled to keep potential winnings within what the casino allows.
The casino gets really worried that it's paying out way too much money, so...
Casinos do face bankruptcy risk because they must cover all player winnings. If someone hits a huge jackpot, say 150 million rubles, the casino has to be ready to pay without going bankrupt.
If a casino has 10 million euros, they simply can't risk going bankrupt and failing to pay players, so they lower their risks this way. The bigger and more reputable the casino, the higher their maxed sponsors.
We're developing a slot game about me. Tell me about it in detail. What's the full story behind the slot game that's about me?
It's a Viking slot about Norse legends and runes.
The team was really inspired by a deep, meaningful, philosophical approach connected to ancient runes and their symbolism, which gave the whole project a truly unique perspective.
With those?
Again, wheat. Victor sent us as a draft.
It's probably rooted in Scandinavian Viking mythology, you know, with a lot borrowed directly from those ancient stories and legends, really heavily inspired by that culture. But I probably can't reveal the details just yet, since they're not fully finalized and could still change as we go along. We're currently deep into developing the game design document and working on the very first visual concepts. Victor and I have shared some of these internally, but it really feels too early to start showing anything to the public. There's still a lot to figure out and polish before it's ready for a wider audience.
So when exactly can we expect this amazing masterpiece to be ready for us to see or play?
If I remember right, it's October? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I heard that the public release is scheduled for October, right?
Could you tell me roughly how many casinos have TrueLab games now?
I think around 1,000 now. So roughly 1,000 casinos. The max win on my slot might be around 50,000, but honestly, I could be wrong on that, so I wouldn't want to take it as a sure thing or base any of my plays solely on that number. Buying a bonus on the slot feels kind of like watching adult content. Just hit play and watch what happens without much involvement. That's just my personal take, though, and I know others might see it differently.
But for me, honestly, the thrill of actually hitting that bonus game just feels way more alive, you know? It always seems so much more exciting and rewarding, kind of like an adrenaline rush every single time.
I agree, because when you catch that game, the bet's usually decent. Buying bonuses means a small bet, hoping to hit the bonus on a solid stake. If it pays out big, it's definitely worth the risk, right?
Dopamine hits you right away. Do psychologists take part in making casino slots?
We don't have psychologists on staff, but our branding team knows the psychology behind it and how to use it effectively.
A psychological background. They can suggest what's better or how. Right now, we're testing a story about meta-irony, jokes layered within jokes, playing with humor on multiple levels.
Meme culture is booming, with jokes about jokes gaining momentum. Psychologists play a key role in this, helping us craft humor that lands well. They guide us on what works, especially as we test stories about meta-irony and trends. They analyze every meme and help us create interesting scenarios for our game. Whether it's a current or future trend, they help us spot it early. That's their key role. Beyond that, psychologists aren't as needed anymore since there's plenty of material on game psychology and player behavior. Their main value now is in helping us leverage cultural trends effectively. Like what hooks people, what dopamine spikes or bursts get your brain buzzing, creating a sort of chemical excitement that's been described and analyzed thoroughly in many books over the years. You can find plenty of information on this topic anytime you want without needing a psychologist's input. But when you want to go beyond just understanding, when you want to actually create something innovative, explore new ideas, or tap into the latest trends, that's when psychologists really come into play. More specifically, it's not just any psychologist, but those who have experience in game design or advisors who have backgrounds in psychology. Their expertise lets them understand player behavior on a deeper level. Now, the question about what percentage the provider takes from a player's losses and what proportion is paid back to players as winnings is a bit tricky and somewhat misphrased, but I think I get the gist of it. So I'll try to explain how rewards and payouts are generally structured in gaming. For example, if a player
He's playing the 96 RTP version, which means 96% of all the money lost by players is returned as winnings to others, while the casino keeps the rest as profit.
the money just shifts from one player's pocket to another, which means it's more of a cycle than a loss for everyone involved. For example, if one player loses 100 rubles on a slot machine, another player wins roughly 96 rubles on a different slot during the same period. Essentially, the money is just being passed around between players. Now, the casino keeps the remaining 4%. This is based on the RTP, which in this case is 96. So these 4% are what keep the casino running and profitable for the long term. The casino shares a cut with us, the game provider, usually 5 to 15% of the total revenue from players' losses. So basically, if let's say when someone loses 100 rubles playing slots, the casino keeps 4 rubles and we, as the game provider, take about 50 kopecks. This small cut keeps everything running smoothly.
Wow, we might have already hit 300,000 by now. That's amazing.
All right, let's go all in and aim for the max win here. We hit a solid 850, which is basically the jackpot, the ultimate prize. But interestingly, I actually had to press the button myself to get there. It wasn't just luck or chance. It was me taking the action to make it happen, which makes it even more exciting, don't you think?
858 is good, thanks. Not the max win, but a decent result for now. Though I hoped for something bigger this time.
Let's crank it up a notch. I really need to get these boxes opened. But tell me, does it actually cost a huge amount of money to start up a game provider? And honestly, is it even realistic for an average businessman to just jump in and open their own provider from scratch? I've been wondering about the financial side and what kind of background you really need for something like that.
To connect it to casinos all around the world, I would estimate the entry threshold to start your own game provider is roughly between 5 and 10 million euros. That's a very rough estimate, but it gives you an idea of the scale and investment needed to get involved at that level. From a regular businessman's perspective, this is a tough question to answer. When it comes to an IT businessman, especially someone with some background in game development and a solid understanding of the market's math and dynamics, it's really about all those intricate details. You need a deep awareness of how the industry works. If someone has never run a similar company before, they might find it very challenging to grasp everything involved fully. Created something like this or has no experience, the risk of failure is really high.
Do you charge casinos for streamers, or do they have a special streamer tag?
Do we rig streamers? Of course not. If that's the question you're asking, then no, our system just doesn't have the capability to tell whether a player is a streamer or not, because all the information casinos send us is completely anonymous and doesn't include that kind of detail. Well, the main reason is that all the data casinos send us is completely anonymized.
Are there any current plans or ideas to create slots similar to No Limit ones with really big maximum wins?
200x, 500x, or even 500,000x wins. We don't plan on making slots with those massive payouts right now. Such super volatile slots are usually handled better by big studios with high turnover. For us, creating high volatility games isn't practical. The math just doesn't add up. The risk, player retention, and stability around big wins are tough to manage. So instead we focus on balanced, fun games that provide sustainable experiences for both players and casinos. Players often say high volatility slots drain their money fast, though big wins are possible. The truth is it's all about luck. Slots with huge max wins like 200,000x or 500,000x would consume much more money, risking greater losses without guarantee.
Big studios can handle such games because they have huge turnovers. For smaller providers like us, it doesn't make sense to offer extremely high volatility slots due to the math behind it. Yeah, it's the same game but capped at a max win of 50,000 to keep things balanced and exciting. So it's really about balance. We're not quite ready for those balances yet.
Are there penalties if a casino changes RTP without the provider's knowledge?
We can't even regulate this aspect. Casinos have full freedom to choose any available RTP they want. Our only responsibility is to honestly display the current RTP the player is experiencing right there in the game rules, so everything stays transparent and clear.
By the way, interesting. How much does RTP really impact payouts? Is the difference between 96 and 94% something players actually notice, or just a small change that doesn't matter much during casual play?
Honestly, it's a bit tough for me to judge this strictly from a mathematical perspective, but when you look at the numbers, the difference is definitely clear. From the standpoint of a player's psychology, especially if someone plays frequently, they're going to feel the impact for sure. If the RTP is lower, it really changes how the game feels overall, and players tend to perceive it much more negatively. Plus, the lower the RTP, the more aggressive the slot can feel in terms of eating up your money. And that doesn't even cover the fact that there are versions out there with really low RTP values, like 92% or even as low as 89%, which exist and can drastically affect gameplay experience.
I think the industry is clearly moving toward boosting RTP right now. You can already find slots offering 96, 97, even 98% RTP, which is quite impressive compared to before.
Is RTP shared among all players, or is it set per individual session or spin?
RTP, or return to player, is calculated over billions of spins. Labs simulate around 1 billion spins using the slot's math model to see how the game performs. Around that mark, the RTP stabilizes, showing the slot's true payout percentage over time.
RTP is usually fixed around 96 to 96.5% and stays consistent over time. This percentage isn't linked to any single gaming session, so it remains stable no matter how many games you play. Casinos or anyone else can't change this number, despite many game variations. Recently, a streamer named Train.Reg hit an amazing $1.9 million jackpot, one of the biggest wins we've seen from our games. Which slot was that?
Dr. Rob?
Has anyone hit the max win among streamers? It's been 50k times.
3 times the world.
That's a tough question. Probably the highest ever recorded. I'm not sure.
Is there any kind of statistics on all players? Like, how often does the max win actually happen? Is it very often or quite rare?
Max wins happen frequently, often dozens of times a month across different players. They mainly come from purchased bonuses or other bonus features. Buying bonuses means players spend less time spinning to get to the bonus game naturally, which speeds things up and improves the odds. So, purchased bonuses let you access big win chances faster without waiting long for the bonus game to trigger. That's about the max payout you can realistically hit in regular play, including free bonuses. There's also Battle Rage and another slot with a huge X100,000 max win potential.
Well, obviously those big wins that everyone talks about are actually pretty rare. You might see them happening maybe once or twice a month at most, so it's quite an infrequent event overall.
Do game glitches happen often?
Not very often, but they do happen from time to time. There are different scenarios too, like hacker attacks looking for vulnerabilities, or some kind of server attacks. That's actually a whole separate field on its own, with its own complexities. Slot hacks. Sometimes, because these issues can impact gameplay, we temporarily shut down the slot for a thorough security check. It's just a precaution to keep everything safe and running smoothly. After that, we bring the slot back online for players to enjoy without worries.
Once the bonus hits, has the win amount already been generated, or is it created dynamically during those bonus spins that play out on the screen?
Most of the time, the system already knows the outcome instantly because the win happens in just a blink of an eye. Everything you see afterward in the slot, all the animations and symbols spinning, it's basically like a cartoon that plays out over some time. At least that's how it works in code terms, where the result is pre-decided but shown gradually for user experience.
The system already knows immediately if you've won or reached the maximum win limit.
So, if I were to create a slot game similar to theirs and then hand over the code to them, what rights or claims would I still retain over that game afterward?
We probably wouldn't take it because of some specific reasons that make us hesitate, you know.
You have to use specific libraries and pass security checks to keep everything safe and compliant.
We need to run thorough security checks on all code. That's why we stopped outsourcing entirely. We first thought about hiring external developers to build slots, but decided it's safer and more efficient to keep this work in-house. Handling slot development internally helps us keep better control and ensure security and integrity throughout the process.
Does the number of spins before a bonus drops depend on whether the slot has 3, 4, 5 or 6 reels? Like, does the number of reels affect the chances of triggering the bonus?
Actually, the most accurate answer is probably no. There's simply a mathematical expectation involved when it comes to hitting the bonus round. This concept is known as the expected value. You can look it up if you're curious, but within that mathematical expectation framework, the model assumes, for instance, that a bonus game might typically appear once every 500 spins or sometimes every 300 spins, depending on the setup. So if you imagine playing an infinite number of spins, the average or expected value tells us that the bonus will emerge roughly once within that set number of spins. It's kind of like a long-term average rather than something guaranteed every session, shaping players' expectations over time.
It's all based on a mathematical model, so yes, that's possible. You asked if RNG can trigger a max win even after the RTP supposedly paid out its full amount. RTP doesn't pay out everything at once. Over many spins, RTP averages around 96%, meaning the payout evens out in the long run. So you could technically get 2 max wins in a row because each spin is independent. It's not random luck, just how the probabilities and math work out over time. You can hit max wins on spins in a row, buy a bonus game, get a max win, then there's a small but real chance just by probability that you buy the next bonus game and get another max win. It sounds incredible, but mathematically it's valid and can happen. It's all about probability and RNG working behind the scenes. The chance of hitting the max win is quite low, and it's important to know this probability isn't connected to RTP at all. Instead, it's controlled by the RNG, which governs all payouts. The outcomes follow strict mathematical rules in the background of every slot machine.
There's this interesting thing people talk about, especially among streamers, called re-entering the slot game. People ask, does it actually affect your chances of winning? Does your session reset when you rejoin? Well, this really comes down to intuition and personal belief. If a streamer or any player feels that by exiting the game and then re-entering, they'll somehow attract better luck, it's more about their metaphysical perspective and a connection to something beyond the usual math and probability. Essentially, it's like trusting some otherworldly force or energy that guides them in a way that numbers and algorithms can't explain. That it's better to quit, so luck will come then. But from a math standpoint, it really doesn't matter if you choose to rejoin that slot or just keep playing continuously, because as I mentioned before, each spin you make operates completely independently, and it doesn't take any information or influence from the spin that came immediately before it. Some slots have a 25% bonus bet option that claims to raise RTP, but it doesn't actually increase it. Instead, you pay extra upfront to boost your chances of hitting special symbols for bonus games or bigger wins. This changes the chance to land bonuses without affecting the long-term return. It's meant for players who enjoy a bit more risk for potentially bigger rewards, making the game more exciting without changing the overall RTP. RTP itself isn't directly involved here. The key is understanding the difference between RTP and the odds of hitting specific symbols. On the moral side, some worry about profiting from addictive behavior, but we focus on entertainment. Everyone has their own views, and we respect that. Our goal is to offer fun, engaging experiences people can enjoy responsibly without encouraging harmful habits. It's a different kind of relationship altogether. The product we create is mainly designed with one goal in mind: to help people relax, unwind, and enjoy themselves through entertainment. When the subject of morality comes up, understandably, it's often a hot topic of serious debate. But if we really consider it, pharmaceutical companies, for example, have the potential to cause far greater harm to individuals than our products ever could. They deal in medicines that can have severe side effects and long-term consequences, while we focus on providing a harmless way to have fun and take a break from the daily grind. People can create completely fictional stories just to make money off others, which makes the whole situation very tricky. At this point, it all really depends entirely on the integrity and honesty of those who are behind a specific business, especially in our industry. Behind every business, especially ours, the goal is simple: to give people a real chance to enjoy the games they love. We focus on creating a space where fun and relaxation come first, so everyone can escape without pressure or harm.